here for public comments?
Larry Kelly, ticked off citizen. Speaking of public safety, Saturday morning, very early, say around 3 o'clock, 3:30 a.m., if you had need of the Amherst Police Department for an emergency situation and you called APD, you would have had to wait because we had 5 officers, count them, 5, at 202 College Street for a party house, which had gotten out of hand. In fact, it had gotten out of hand so badly that they had to call for backup. So who did they call? UMass. Well, guess what? UMass was having their problems too, so they couldn't come. So we had Hadley, 2 cruisers from Hadley, 2 cruisers from Amherst College responded. In fact, we should send them a thank you note. So they did an excellent job helping out our police department. But this is getting out of hand. I mean, we had a police officer assaulted with a dangerous weapon, with a stick. And that's at 3:30 in the morning. Now this, I mean, the last time I came here to complain about this, the last time I was ticked off was in late September, early October. And what was that incident? The Meadow Street riot. We had rocks and bottles thrown at police officers. You got to do something. You got to do something before someone gets seriously injured. Now let me shift gears for a second. That ticks me off. But what scares me as a family person, born and raised in this town, if you had called for an ambulance at around that same time, early Saturday morning, you had a medical emergency and you needed help immediately, you would have had to wait because we had 3 ambulances tied up at UMass with ETOH students. ETOH is shorthand for drunk, passed out drunk. But you have to be careful because they can die. They can choke on their own vomit, as we saw in Florida a week or 2 ago with that hazing incident. So I'm not saying we don't transport them. By all means, we have to transport them. But we had 3 ambulances tied up at UMass for that. We had 1 ambulance tied up in Amherst College for a student, ETOH. So that's 4 out of our 5 ambulances. And then I think the 5th one was preoccupied with something you would expect. Someone fell and was injured and needed an ambulance. But at that point, all 5 ambulances are out. So if you needed an ambulance, you would have had to wait for Northampton to respond. And in medical emergencies, you don't want to be told by the 911 operator, well, sorry, we'll get there when we can. And God forbid if you had a major structure fire at that same time, because as I'm sure you know, our ambulances are manned by the firefighters. So at that point, A, all our ambulances are tied up. B, we have no professional firefighters. So we had the entire town was being protected by the student call force. God love them, but they can only man 1 pumper. And in a major structure fire, that's not enough. So if my house is on fire at 3 o'clock in the morning, I want some of the professionals to respond. So please, could you do something? Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming in and expressing your thoughts about that. It is a very serious issue. It's an ongoing challenge, and we're continuing to try to address it. But thank you very much for coming in. Anyone else for public comment? Okay, let me note a couple